We're going to tee up this conversation just briefly by providing like a 10,000-foot view of what we're talking about here to level set. So when we think about the role of prevention specifically in impacting behavioral health outcomes, the things that we've dug into through this series, what prevention science tells us is that the strategies that we engage in are most effective when we address risk and protective factors. So, what does that mean? We want to define risk and protective factors, right? We as individuals have biological and psychological characteristics that either put us at risk for or protect us from mental and emotional and behavioral health problems. And we need to keep in mind, right, that we don't, as individuals, exist in isolation. So we're all part of families, communities, and the broader society. And then within each of those contexts, there are a variety of risk and protective factors as well. This is called the social ecological model. We know that prevention efforts are most effective and most impactful when addressing all levels of the social ecological model because it can be more effective and have a bigger impact if we expand our focus to include strategies across these multiple levels. Next slide, please. I love to think of risk factors as the rain and protective factors as the umbrella. We tend to hear a lot more about risk factors than protective factors, right? A lot of our efforts to improve child and adolescent health typically have focused on those strategies that are designed to address specific risk factors to reduce those risk behaviors and outcomes. But what we're starting to see, and why we're focusing on protective factors today, is that results from a lot of studies are suggesting that greater impacts might actually be achieved by also enhancing protective factors that help young people avoid those risk behaviors that place them at risk for adverse health outcomes. So we're starting to shift and see that prevention is not just about eliminating those negative behaviors. It's also about supporting those positive behaviors and those positive environments so that we can really optimize overall well-being of individuals, families, communities, and ultimately societies, right? Protective factors also serve as a buffer for young people against harmful effects of negative situations and events that they might encounter. I also want to preface that it's important to understand that these protective factors and risk factors specifically, that increase our risk for developing a behavioral health issue are not a guarantee. We don't want to misstate that. But when we understand these risk factors and protective factors, that can give us a more comprehensive understanding of a young person's relationship to these issues and how we can support them more effectively.